What if the thing you feared most was also the one thing that made you feel alive? Would you give your soul if it meant finally feeling alive? Or what if the world that gave you power was built on someone else's pain? Can love survive if it's built on blood and betrayal? Or if your love was the trap, would you still miss the one who built it? Mora wasn't just a city. It was a curse dressed in lights. Under the buzzing street lamps and the cold silver rain lived Darcy, a beautiful quiet girl who worked in an old antique shop on Jog Jog Street. She had no family, no friends, just strange dreams, dreams where she drowned in oceans of red stars and wore a crown made of gold and bone. She used to think they were nightmares. But now, she wasn't sure. One night, just before closing, a man walked in. He was tall and handsome with silver eyes and a voice like velvet fire. His name was Clark. Darcy was entranced by the stranger and her heart skipped a beat. "I'm looking for the crown, the enchanted crown," he said. Darcy frowned. "That's just a myth. A ghost story for collectors." Clark smiled. "And yet, it's here. Waiting for you." He was quite bold. Darcy did not really understand what he meant. That night, as thunder cracked the sky and shadows crawled across her walls, Darcy found a hidden box in the back of the shop. She didn't know why she opened it, but she did. Inside was a crown. She frowned. Not gold, not silver, but something alive and old. Something watching. She touched it. Her breath caught. Her eyes turned black. And behind her, Clark whispered in a gentle and intoxicating voice, "Now you belong to the crown. And to me." Darcy didn't sleep that night. The crown sat on her table, glowing faintly. Sometimes it whispered. Sometimes it sang. When she stared into it, she saw visions, a crumbling throne, a forest on fire, a woman screaming, and Clark, standing in a field of bones, waiting. She was in shock, still not understanding. The next morning, Clark returned. "You are its chosen bearer now," he said. "The crown only answers to a heart that knows pain. You have known so much pain in this life." Darcy was startled. "How do you know what I have been through? What do you want from me?" Clark walked closer. "I want you to wear it, to awaken its power, and to rule the kingdom hidden in shadow together, with me." She laughed. "Kingdom? There's no such thing." Clark smiled. "There is. Beneath Mora, past the river of dust, lies Darken Moor, the forgotten city." He offered her his hand, smiling seductively, willing her to join him. "Wear the crown. Cross over. And I will show you everything." Darcy hesitated, not sure, but deep inside her, something dark had already bloomed. She took his hand, feeling the warmth she craved. The crown floated to her head. When it touched her, her heartbeat stopped, and then restarted, louder, stronger, darker. The walls of the antique shop melted into black mist and they disappeared. And suddenly, they were no longer in Mora. They were standing on the edge of a black river, and the sky was made of broken stars. The boat made of bones drifted slowly across the black waters of the river of dust. Darcy sat at the front, gripping the edge tightly and afraid. Her reflection in the water didn't move like hers. It smiled when she frowned. It blinked when she stared. Clark stood at the back, his cloak billowing in wind that didn't exist. His voice broke the silence. "You feel it, don't you?" he said softly, almost whispering. "The pulse beneath the river. It's the memory of the dead. They remember everything." Darcy didn't answer. She could feel it. Thousands of whispers, brushing against her skin like cold fingers. Some called her name. Others wept. One voice, soft and familiar, asked, "Why did you come here?" She didn't know. She was still confused. Everything happened so fast. When they reached the far shore, the fog lifted. Before them stood Darken Moor, a kingdom lost to time, buried beneath Mora. But this city was not dead. It was dreaming. Huts floated in midair, held by unseen forces. Bridges twisted like vines. Obsidian streets glowed faintly under their feet. Above them, the moon was split into 3 pieces, hanging like broken teeth. Darcy whispered, "What is this?" Clark smiled. "The place where queens are made and unmade." They walked through the streets. Ghosts watched them, men and women in regal robes with shattered crowns and hollow eyes. Some knelt when they saw Darcy. Others wept and turned away. They reached a great hall carved from shadow. Inside, murals covered every wall. Darcy stepped closer, her fingers brushing the stone. The carvings moved, living stories telling the same tale again and again. A young woman, a golden crown, a dark man with silver eyes, power, glory, and death. Darcy turned. They all died. Clark nodded. The crown chooses. The crown consumes. This time, his voice was without emotion. She backed away. Then why would anyone wear it? Why will I wear it? He looked at her. His eyes were softer now. Because for a moment, you are more than human. You are everything. In the following days, Darcy learned the rules of dark and more. She floated through the air like smoke. She bent light and shadow. She opened doors with her mind. And she changed. Her skin glowed faintly in moonlight. Her heartbeat echoed with the cries of the forgotten. When she looked at someone, they flinched, because she saw into their secrets. Clark was always near, never far from her. He taught her how to speak to the dead, how to walk through mirrors, how to silence a scream with a glance. And at night, when the city went still, he held her. His touch was warm, his voice soft. "I've waited many lifetimes," he whispered one night. "You are the last, the strongest, the one who might survive the crown." She looked up at him. "And if I don't?" Clark didn't answer. Instead, he kissed her tenderly. Their lips touched under the cracked sky, beneath the light of broken stars. It was a kiss full of magic, of longing, of centuries of pain. Darcy wanted to believe it meant something. She wanted it to be real. But as they pulled away, the crown whispered to her, "He has kissed many. You are not the first." Her heart twisted, but her hand stayed in his. Because even if the love was cursed, it was the only love she had. Time didn't work the same in Dark and More. Darcy stopped counting days. Or maybe the days stopped counting her. She no longer needed sleep. Or food. Her heart still beat, but it no longer sounded human. It pulsed with the rhythm of the Enchanted Crown, now fused to her soul. Each time she used its power, a piece of her vanished. At first, small things, her favorite color, the way her mother's voice sounded, the scent of rain on her village rooftops. But soon, deeper parts of her faded. She forgot her brother's name. She couldn't remember what made her laugh. She stood in front of mirrors and didn't know who she was. Still, Clark remained. He taught her how to speak the language of curses, how to write spells in smoke, how to command the moonlight like a blade. He touched her gently, kissed her forehead, whispered things like "Mine forever, my queen, and you are the crown's final hope." And she let herself believe. Because even if she was changing, even if her soul was burning, his voice brought peace. Or so she thought. One evening, in a forgotten wing of the palace, Darcy found a room she had never seen before. Inside were portraits, not painted, but trapped souls, women frozen in time, their eyes moving slowly, filled with sorrow. Each wore the enchanted crown. Each one looked like her. Darcy staggered back, heart thundering. One portrait reached out, pressing a ghostly hand to the glass. "He said he loved me too," it whispered. She ran. Clark found her in the moonlit courtyard, her hands shaking. "You lied to me," she said, voice raw, cracking. "You told me I was the first." "I said you were the last," Clark replied calmly. "I never lied. I simply chose not to hurt you." Darcy's magic flared, the stones beneath her feet cracking. "You used them. You used me." "I loved them," he said quietly. "But none were strong enough. They tried to run. The crown doesn't forgive weakness." Tears streamed down Darcy's face, but they turned into smoke before touching the ground. "Do you love me now?" she asked, now fully understanding his intentions. Clark stepped closer. "Yes, but that won't save you." Silence. Then the crown on her head tightened, a ring of fire around her thoughts. And Darcy understood. She was never loved. She was chosen. But not for love. For sacrifice. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She walked away. And as the spirits of the lost queens wept in the walls, Darcy began to plan. If she was to fall, she would not fall alone. Darken Moor was no longer a city. It had become a tomb of memories, spiraling with shadows, whispers, and the echoes of dying hearts. The air itself hummed with forgotten spells. Time cracked at the edges like broken glass. And at its center sat Darcy, crowned, glowing, untouchable. She was more powerful than ever. She could crush mountains with a word. She could walk through fire and not burn. She could bend death to her will. But her eyes no longer held tears. Only silence. Clark watched her from a distance. He felt the shift. She was not the girl who followed him through the desert. She was not the trembling queen-to-be who reached for his hand in fear. She was becoming something else. And he feared her. Still, he came. He knelt before her throne, a throne carved from bone and sorrow, floating in a circle of violet flame. "You've changed," he said softly. "So did you," she replied, her voice smooth, empty. "I did what I had to. The crown must live on. Without a bearer, Darken Moor falls." Darcy rose. The ground trembled. "And how many must die for Darken Moor not to fall?" she asked. Clark didn't answer. Because the answer was every queen who ever loved him. Darcy took off the crown. For the first time, it left her head willingly. She held it in her hands. It pulsed with hunger. "It whispers still," she said. "It begs to return." Clark stood. "Don't fight it. You can't destroy it." "I know," Darcy said, stepping closer to him. She placed the crown on his head. The room exploded in light. The spirits screamed in rage and freedom. The murals cracked. The sky above shattered like thin ice. The towers of Darken Moor began to crumble. Clark gasped. The crown burned him. It tore into his mind, showed him every soul he had ruined, every kiss he had stolen, every queen he had doomed. "No," he whispered. This isn't how it ends." Now truly afraid of what is to come. But Darcy was not done. She stepped to the edge of the floating throne and opened her arms. "To every soul who suffered," she cried, "take back what was stolen." The dead rose like a wave, thousands of broken queens, spirits of pain and beauty, of dreams and dust. They surged forward. Clark screamed. The crown cracked. And then, he was gone. Swallowed by the past. The city began to fall. Darcy stood alone as Darken Moor crumbled into ash. The curse was broken. But so was she. She walked out of the ruins barefoot, covered in soot and silence. She wandered into the desert with her broken and shattered heart, forgetting her name. The wind carried her sorrow for centuries. Some say she turned into stardust. Some say she walks still, cursed not by the crown, but by the memory of a man she once loved. A love that was never real, but still hurt like truth.